You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I want to thank Rick Gerard for guest hosting our shows last week. I was out of town on a business trip, and I really appreciate the fact that he came in. And I guess to thank Paul Roberts as well, because I guess Paul handled one of the interviews and Rick did the other three. Welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi, and we have a great show scheduled for you. Why? You ask? Well, I'll answer. With extensive experience in management and consulting, Nancy Drew helps coach clients to achieve challenging goals and creating sustainable action plans. And she's offering her services to Saddleback Church through an outreach program to help orphans. Nancy, thank you for being on Critical Mass Radio Show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's good to have you here today. She's a friend of mine. I've known her for years. Loyal listeners, you may remember Nancy was on the show before, so she's a repeat guest. But for those that maybe didn't hear that interview, can you start by sharing an interesting story, something from your professional background that the audience would be enjoyable to hear from you?
Yeah,
Right.
well, obviously I'm from the garbage industry. You can tell that I'm a garbage man just
Right.
by looking at me.
Waste management, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And that's where I really started. And you hear those stories about that industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty colorful industry, to say the least. And
Right.
and gosh, I was there for years. Did a lot of acquisitions, in charge of a significant size sales and customer service group. And I am very much, this, I'm very much, let's train people, let's help them be successful. That's the girl I am, right?
Right.
Well, there I was called Mrs. Axeman. My boss was, less than, let's just say he was kind of a ruthless guy.
Okay.
And he was Mr. Axeman. And we were doing, the company did 200 acquisitions in 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And so my job was, go and assess the health of this company, and who goes and who gets the axe, thus the name.
Wow.
So it was interesting. It was, a lot of hostile negotiations with collective agreements, bomb threats, having to vacate the buildings, and bullet holes in the operation manager's window, and so things have settled a little bit now.
Talk about a hostile work environment. My goodness, right?
That's right. But
this was in Canada, right?
Yeah, it was, and I was,
We always thought the Canadians were so peaceful up there.
Yeah, well, for a while, right?
For a while. Well, I actually saw you talk about this on a video somewhere about how you used to have to show up at night as well. This wasn't a standard 9 to 5 kind of a job
Well,
for you.
the thing is that probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, if you're going to do a job, you know everything about it.
Okay.
And so here I am, one of the only women, in the garbage industry, and they were like, get her away from me. We don't want her. And I would get up at 3 a.m. and get on those garbage trucks, because I thought, if I need to manage this, productivity stops, train people, I need to know this business,
Right.
And so here I was, and then the guys, got used to me and a lot of respect for me jumping on these trucks and hauling garbage with them. And you earn your position in life, right? And so there we go.
So how long were you there?
I was there for 15 years. I got
Oh,
a
my
lot.
goodness, right?
It was probably the hardest thing I did, and grew me the most. I got a huge success. It really launched me for my career. I started having other people coming, companies saying, "Hey, will you come and restructure our company? Will you train our people?" And that just launched the rest of. Yeah, that was my hard time.
Well, there we go. See, out of something difficult comes goodness.
Absolutely.
Right, Nancy Drew?
Yes.
So let's talk about what you're doing today. You're working with the UCSD Rady School of Management. Can you talk a little bit about your role in support of them and kind of the area that you're responsible for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's they're an amazing school. They're one of the top 20 worldwide for business schools. And we, do courses here in Orange County. So I've got the best of both worlds. I work with companies one-on-one, helping them design what do our workers need. What's going on with our employees. We can't hire the right people. We're going to have to build our own people. Suddenly now I've got these HR issues I don't know how to deal with. I've got to be a public speaker because I'm giving all these presentations, and I didn't sign up for this. I don't have the education, I don't have the experience. So this is perfect as a business school does all that. It's great. And then, of course, I've been teaching with them for a few years, which is great. I teach the time management, work-life balance programs, those who need to learn, teach.
Right.
So
those
that's,
who can do. Right.
That's right. I'm kind of an expert in that area from my life beforehand.
So I heard you say that the school does two different things. One, they're offering coursework, and two, they're customizing classes specific for businesses.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So, for example, one of our clients, very, very large tech company, decided that their meetings were highly inefficient. We were having all kinds of meetings. Nothing was getting done. There was no follow-up. People dreaded the meetings, and then there was a meeting after the meeting to talk about what didn't get accomplished during the meeting.
That sounds like big company culture stuff, unfortunately.
So they wanted a program that would address this. So they were going to be more effective, more productive. And we wrote that program for them, and I taught it. And so, that's very common. We have 75 different programs at the business school, Center for Executive Development, 75 different programs. But you may say, well, this is really what we need. That's fine. We have research professors. We have industry experts. We will build that program.
So why is the Rady School coming into Orange County and offering these workshop classes and these customized classes? What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're already here.
Well, there you go.
So I was like,
they're already here, folks.
We're already
Who knew?
here. We have businesses, that we work with at AAA, Boeing, Qualcomm. We work with those people.
Okay.
We have people that drive to San Diego to take a class on their own. They might want a class on, emotional intelligence or productivity or coaching. So we're thinking, the market is here.
Right.
So we should reach out. We are part of the UC family, right? So it's not in competition. It's just a different program that's not being offered here. So the thing with this school is that it's very cutting edge. The information is new. We have research professors, faculty, people on top of their game. You won't take a time management course, for example, and see that was stuff you already knew.
Yeah, from the 80s or 90s
Exactly.
or later. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. You mentioned to me before that the demands on the instructors is very high, that the school expects high performance.
Absolutely. I could not write my program last year and teach it this year. It's just not acceptable whatsoever.
Because it has to be more current.
It's got to be cutting edge.
Wow,
so now, there's a way that people learn video. What are the apps for this? Very interactive.
Okay. So let's continue that conversation, but my engineer's telling me it's time to take a break, Nancy, here on Critical Mass Radio Show. When we come back, maybe we can talk about the types of programs a little bit more and workshops that are being offered here in Orange County. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to go anywhere because we're continuing the conversation after this word from me.
Richard Franzi is the author of 2 popular business books for CEOs. His first book, Critical Mass, The 10 Explosive Powers of CEO Peer Groups, was the first book ever written on the secret value of CEO peer groups. His second book, now with newly updated information, is Critical Mass, The Power of CEO Guiding Principles. Richard's books contain powerful information to help CEOs running middle market companies gain valuable insight to improve their decision-making skills. Richard's books are available as paperbacks or Kindle versions from Amazon.com. To find them, type Richard Franzi in the search box.
And welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi. All of our shows can be heard anytime on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker.com, hundreds of former guest websites whose CEOs have appeared on our show. Since we started this program here on octalkradio.net in 2009, we've reached hundreds of thousands of listeners through our live stream, podcasts, and other platforms like YouTube. Simply type Critical Mass Radio Show in your favorite podcasting software to find our weekly shows with great guests like Nancy Drew. Before the break, I said I was going to ask you to talk about specifically what's coming up on the calendar of planned classes here in Southern California, in Orange County specifically, Nancy.
Yeah, well, there are some great classes. It's a very interesting way to go to school when you do a drop-in course. You know, here we hold them at the Center Club. And it's a real hardship. Your car is valeted. You have a beautiful breakfast, and then you have school until noon. Maybe some will leave and go back to work, and others will buckle up to the bar. You know,
Right.
Who knows? But the program's coming up. There's an amazing program on mindfulness, and it's how to be more productive. You know, the people are just, they need to focus. You know, how do we be focused, get our work done, not be distracted? So it's, you know, getting more of a productivity type of a class, you know, really working with purpose.
Do you know who's teaching that course? By any chance?
Yes, I do. The teacher for that course is Jill Tupper.
Okay.
And she's outstanding. She's a speaker on her own as well, and the works for...
Because you have the UCSD has a center for mindfulness-based training
Yes,
as well. And so
yes.
she must be affiliated
Correct.
with them.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not too sure of the affiliation, but she's extremely busy speaker.
Okay.
So we also have, after her, 360-degree effectiveness, and that's with Dr. Mary McKay. She's phenomenal. She teaches a lot of our leadership programs, very well respected at the university, and she's teaching a couple of classes on leadership. You know, how we use our influence to get things done, how we relate better with each other and just achieve more, because, you know, there's some conflict in the workplace. You know, there's some difficulties going
Yeah,
on.
some workplaces more than others. We heard from the first block, but anyway.
There we
right?
go. You know, there's coaching, mentoring programs, public speaking, which I think everybody should take. Phenomenal.
Why do you think everybody should take public speaking, Nancy
Well,
Drew?
I think everyone, as a speaker, you know, I think everybody should take public speaking because,
Right.
you know, you've got to get your ideas across. The only person you cannot see is you. So you may think you're coming across someone, but it may be the complete opposite.
Right.
Most management need to present.
Right, and the higher you get in leadership, the more this skill is important, right?
It's extremely important. Yeah.
Sharing and being able to articulate your ideas is a powerful... I agree with you. I agree that public speaking is a prerequisite for entrepreneurs because you may be pitching for money. I mean, there's tons of ways this could help you if
Exactly.
you're good at the speaking thing.
Yeah, with your own employees, you know, looking for investment funds. Maybe you're getting up and you're presenting ideas, you know, to your peers. If you're a good speaker, you know, people, you know, they connect with you.
Right.
Much higher level.
There's a halo effect there a little
Yes.
bit. If you're confident and can speak to a large group, people think probably you're competent in other areas as well, which you may or may not be, but let them think that, right?
That's correct.
All right, so I wanted to spend a little bit of time here on Critical Mass Radio Show with you, Nancy. I know that you've been very involved in community outreach, and you know one such cause, as I mentioned in the open, is Saddleback Church's Orphan Children Program. Can you share a little bit about that program and your involvement with it?
Yeah, that, gosh, you know, that really touches my heart. There's 15,000 children in California that go into the foster care system annually. You know, 50,000 phone calls in Orange County alone every year.
Wow.
You know, so these are, you know, reports of abuse, mental, emotional neglect. 98% of the children are removed from the homes and put into a temporary situation, which can end up being not unrealistic, 18 months
Wow.
in the system with 5 moves and separated from their brothers and sisters sometimes. It's a nightmare, you know,
Okay.
and then some of these children are just aging out of the system and then off they go.
Do they ever go back home? Or are they, once they're in the system,
Ideally.
they're in this, but it sounds like they don't.
Yes, yeah, quite often this is an orphan situation.
Wow.
So what I'm involved in with through Saddleback Church is Every Child OC, and the system here is, for the first time in history, churches of all denominations are pulling together with, you know, some local government assistance and putting together this program that our goal is by 2020 that there will be 0 children in the foster care system. And we are finding homes, we're educating people, we are getting volunteers. How do you help a a family, because now these children are traumatized, right? So there's
Right.
ongoing issues. So support through the life, and that's our goal.
So
That's our mission.
Can I follow up with you on that?
Yeah.
That's an ambitious goal by 2020. It's not that long away. In case you're not checking it, 2018 right now, which is like 2 years, Nancy.
Yes.
I mean, what would have to change to allow that to be the case? What specifically is this organization focused on that would allow such a dramatic turnaround in?
Well, it's really education. You know, a lot of people just do not know that there are so many children. We are the highest. California is the highest in the nation for orphans and foster care. So it's education. How do we do it? Oh, really? It's that easy? You know, and so helping people be successful. Sometimes people will say, well, I'd love to, but I can't.
Okay.
You know, I don't have the resources. Yes, you do. You know, yes, you do. You have the support. You have these people that are in groups to come and equip you to be successful. And so it's supporting these adoptions.
Okay, by 2020, does that mean because people will have adopted the children, so there are no orphans in foster care?
Correct.
Okay, so the solution is finding them permanent homes.
Absolutely. These are forever homes.
Forever homes.
Forever homes.
So the solution isn't on the supply side. It's offering people's. You're saying when you say education, it's awareness that they could become adoptive parents.
Exactly. Exactly. There are families, that we've seen that say, when they realize what's going on, they're like, oh my gosh, we can do this. And they can do this. And you're not alone. You have a village. It takes a village to bring up a child.
Right. And Saddleback has moved some big cultural issues here in Southern California and in Orange County. So with their focus behind it, that's a very big megaphone for this organization. But you say it's teamed with other churches as well?
Yes. It doesn't matter the denomination. We are coming together as a community. It takes a community to, raise a child. And so it's not a, situation of, well, you're not at my church. That's mute point. That it's the children need our help.
And what is it about Every Child OC that caused you to make this level of commitment to it?
I've been working with high-risk teens for a long time. I would go into the schools and work with them and help them out. I went camping, with some foster children high risk, just a nightmare for them,
To go camping with you?
Well, yes, but that's not really what I was referring to.
I was lost there. I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that.
But I was a hot mess. I was just in tears. It was not good. But they, there was suicidal, drug problems, sex abuse, just really, really bad situation for them. And I just could never get this out of my heart, and I thought, okay, I can't, punish the children more by spending time with me, but I am a media person. I am a speaker. And so this is where I went to help this group.
If I may say, also kind of getting to know you over the years and kind of reminding myself of some of the facets of your life. I did see a video about your early days as a mother and the struggles that you went through.
Yes.
Is that a part of this as well?
Yeah, you'll see. You'll see over the years that things have popped up where I suddenly will go in and raise a ton of money for Haiti. There was a thing there, and I speak about the fact that I was lucky enough that I was able to keep my child when I was. When I had my daughter, situation happened. I was quite young, and her father cleaned us out financially, and we ended up homeless, sleeping in a shopping mall. And it was a tough situation, and everybody wanted me to give her up, and I wouldn't. And I was hiding that we were sleeping in a shopping mall because I knew social services ever found out, child protective custody, she would have been whipped away in a heartbeat. You wouldn't have found better care for her, but that was not the right place to bring her up,
Right.
And so I was so beyond grateful that I was able to dig us out of that mess. And so therefore I go and I help others.
Wow, that's a powerful story. I can't even imagine. We don't have time. How do you even evade security in a mall to be able to hide there? That's unfathomable in some ways.
Yeah.
Right, but at least there's restrooms and things, right? So some level of service is there for you. All right. So if someone if someone wanted to learn more about Every Child OC, where would they go for that to learn more?
They would go to everychildoc.com. So that would be, or they could, key in Saddleback Orphan Ministry. They can find out information there. They can contact me, directly. Get hold of me on LinkedIn, Nancy Drew. There's one other, Nancy Drew.
Really? Not aware of that. On LinkedIn, one other, huh? Okay. So Drew spelled?
Drew.
Okay. That's a fantastic thing to be involved in. I'm glad you were wanting to talk about that here. I hope that your exposure on the platform brings more people's awareness to it.
I hope so.
I've seen you on stage sharing your message to large audience of business executives. What in your experience are the keys to using platforms like that to help build your personal and professional brand? What advice would you give from your experience in being successful on stage to others who maybe are running businesses but aren't as comfortable with the idea that they need to be out in public speaking like that?
Right. Yeah. Well, I believe that speaking is the best thing that you can do. If you can get up and deliver a compelling message, I mean, that is amazing. People will come to you and they will, try to get you over for business. When I speak, there will always be a handful of people that want to hire me for something else. I will get referrals from that. You can take that footage and put it on LinkedIn. The social media is turning solely to video in the next few years.
Right.
So you can chop that down into tips. On my LinkedIn, there's probably like 20 different videos. People can see the energy, they can see the message, and it's a very useful thing to do. I don't think, being in business, that you can't afford to not be able to speak with compelling message.
And there seems to be many more opportunities, I'm thinking here in Southern California, Orange County, for people to have an opportunity to speak in front of whether it's a small group of 20 or 30, or in your case, a large audience of a couple hundred. There seems to be more platforms popping up, too, for people to be featured. And having a story that's compelling halos your business brand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be about the business.
No, it doesn't. People want to work with people that they like.
Yes.
People that they think, hey, that person's doing some good things in the world. If I have 10 people to choose from, I want to work with that person.
Right.
I like them. They're fun. They're doing good work. Whatever that message is. But there's more and more people wanting to learn. We are a community, as economy right now that is hungry for information, and we want to learn from each other. We don't want a canned situation. We want a real person.
Right, and I believe in the power of peer learning. So one business executive sharing their experiences on stage with other business executives seems to me to make perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. Yeah. So if someone would like to, okay, the engineer's telling me it's time to end this interview, ladies and gentlemen. So it is time, Nancy Drew, to end this interview. But if someone wants to learn more about the UCSD Rady School programs, or you in particular, where do you direct them to go online?
I would suggest, I am an open book. You can email me.
Okay.
I would be more than happy at ndrew@ucsd.edu. You can go on to UCSD Rady Center for Executive Development.
Can you spell Rady?
Rady is R-A-D-Y.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you were going to say something, I interrupt you.
And LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is a great platform.
So those are all great ways to learn more about these programs. I'm excited to see more education being done, having achieved some certificate programs through another part of Rady School of Business. I find very high quality education, very engaged instructors, and so I'm glad to see they're bringing that kind of competence here to our business community in Orange County. Yeah. Thanks for being a friend of the program and being back here on Critical Mass Radio Show. Continued success, Nancy Drew.
Thank you so much.
It's been great. All right, we're going to have to call it a day. I'd like to thank our engineer for today's show, Paul Roberts, as well, and our producers, without whom we wouldn't really have a show, and they are Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and Haley Stern. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Richard Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. Let's start our conversations there. You may be interested in my latest book, Killing Cats Leads to Rats, Mitigating the Unintended Consequences of Business Decisions. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other booksellers. Until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show. focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.